Good morning, noon, or night, everyone. Welcome back to The Fog, and let's get straight into it and see what's on the menu for today, the Iron Lung concept chapter. In today's video, I'm going to be going over what Iron Lung is, how I would implement it into the Dead by Daylight universe, and followed by concepts for a killer and survivor. Now this is something new for the channel, as we've only had licensed survivors before now, so if this interests you, be sure to let me know what licenses you want to see next in the comments below. A big spoiler one from here on for the Iron Lung game and 2026 movie. With that said, let's begin. The original Iron Lung was a submarine simulation horror game released and developed in 2022 by David Szymanski. It takes place on a moon covered in an ocean of blood, with the player taking the role of an unnamed conflict sent to explore the Blood Ocean. And I fucking love it.
I don't like how it's got me pointing it directly at the thing that's beeping. Right. Shit! No, I'm gonna get jump scared by the big fuck off scary creature by the time I get to fucking 6, 7. I'm gonna fucking die in this house! What the fuck's happening? A1. Oh, what am I? Nightmares beyond my comprehension. Here I come. That really fucking made me jump.
In the world of Iron Lung, humanity has colonised the stars, but an event causes all stars and habitable planets in the galaxy to suddenly disappear. This event, known as the Quiet Rapture, leaving only those aboard space stations and starships alive. In a search to find new materials to help humanity survive, they begin to explore the Blood Ocean using convicts as expendable pilots for their submarines. As the player explores the ocean, they find signs of life, taking photos of skeletons and other structures under the ocean, only to be attacked by an enormous creature. The game was met with glowing reviews all around, praised for its oppressive environment and sound design, and in 2023, Markiplier Fischbach announced he would be producing a film adaptation of the game. Filming began on March 7th that year, and finished in May the 1st, with the film being released initially in only 60 theatres. But after fans worldwide requested to their cinemas to play the film, it debuted in North America, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and some parts of Europe, making 51 million in the box office, releasing recently in India on March 13th. The plot of the film is similar to the game. We open with a monologue telling us about the Quiet Rapture as a convict is welded into the SM-13 submarine and descends into the sea to take pictures at designated coordinates. He eventually finds a skeleton unmarked on the coordinates, which sparks questions amongst his commanders as the sub begins to shake violently. The convict, real name Simon, believes he's being attacked, but he's told it's the ocean floor, which is also made of coagulated blood. Simon resurfaces as the crew above begins analysing the photo of the skeleton and making repairs to the ship. The commander instructs Simon on how to use the claw being attached to the Iron Lung, having to ram full speed into the skeleton to try and get a sample for testing. Realising he has to go down, and being rightfully pissed about it, he activates the camera and fires a metric fuckload of rads into the crew working on the ship, revealing it's an X-ray camera since you can't exactly see through blood. Simon descends again, apologising for his actions, but the new commander over the radio doesn't exactly want to forgive him, exposing how Simon was the first to surrender to the Consolidation Iron after Eden attacked Filament Station. Simon eventually finds a note hidden inside a small compartment on the ship, telling him to cross wires and finding an Eden bracelet. This activates the terminal with an audio recording telling Simon he isn't the first on the ship and that Consolidation of Iron plans to kill Simon. Ignoring the voice, Simon finds the skeleton has moved, following after tracks in the sea to attempt to find the skeleton again. Command informs him on where to find the skeleton and he travels toward those coordinates. Simon confronts the commander about lying to him, saying that the destruction of Filament Station was a mistake by Eden and it was never meant to happen. He finds the skeleton again and rams into it to gain the sample, but the sub suddenly starts shaking and Simon is knocked out, having flashbacks from Eden. Simon awakes in the disabled sub, using the camera flash to explore the crawl space, where he finds various supplies and the emergency engine restart. The front window suddenly cracks, shooting blood onto Simon as a fire begins behind him.
Holy shit!
He starts losing his shit, punching the radio as it yells at him about the hull breach and starts taking his shirt off. You know, maybe being on the Iron Lung isn't so bad after all. After a quick swig of medical alcohol, he locked and realises he's off the charted map, using strips of the manual to make his own map using the camera. He then spots the eel, slowly descending into the other end of the cave with probably my favourite scene in the whole movie.
Sure. Good. Don't mind me. I'm just trying to go home.
He spends a long time mapping dead ends and falling asleep at the wheel as he's plagued by memories of Eden when he suddenly finds a wrecked submarine, the SM-8. Getting closer, Simon's terminal starts bugging out trying to upload the data from the SM-8, but he hotwires the terminal again, showing him all the pictures he's taken on the sub and realising he's gone in a huge circle. A new voice emerges through the radio, telling Simon about a light under the ocean related to the Quiet Rapture. The voice seems to be the crew of the SM-8, somehow still alive. It discourages Simon from trying to survive, but after seeing his hope, it begins guiding him towards the light. As he reaches it, Simon realises that the radio has been disconnected this whole time. He's sucked in, entering a place known as the Red Void and seeing the enormous eye in the sky. When Simon wakes up, he sees a mutated version of himself at the wheel. He goes to stab it, only to realise it was a hallucination. Suddenly, the commander's voice comes through the radio and reveals Simon has been gone for days. Losing himself, he has to convince her to prove that she's real, but she refuses to let Simon resurface. In turn, Simon reveals everything he knows about the SM-8, and the commanders argue before finally making a deal. If Simon can retrieve the SM-8's data, then the commander will come and get Simon personally, revealing her name as Ava. Simon begins to lose himself more as he goes further, hearing voices and eventually retrieving the data from the SM-8. The voice from earlier and Ava both begin yelling at Simon, one to destroy the data and the other to get it to the surface at all costs. As Simon learns about the SM-8 crew going insane from eating food synthesized with the blood, which is also human blood. The light is revealed to be a fragment of the event that caused the Quiet Rapture. Ava finally manages to get through to Simon. She has to abandon him, but he needs to make sure that the SM-13 black box is safe. The eel, now revealed to be made up of the crew of the SM-8 and other bodies in the Blood Ocean, destroys Ava's ship and consumes her. Simon rams into the eel, getting into the crawl space, which is now full of blood from the leaking ship. The seedling in his Eden bracelet cracks, however, rapidly growing and mutating Simon into a fleshy tree. He snaps off his arm and ties the black box to a life jacket as he begins fighting off the eel's teeth that bite through the sub, suddenly exploding as Simon finally mutates with the seedling and becomes the blood tree, impaling the eel. The movie ends with the lone black box bobbing and surfing along the surface of the Blood Ocean. Humanity's hope has made it. How many people died in... Oh, wait, no, shit, wrong show. I absolutely loved Iron Lung. I know some had mixed feelings about it, but I think it was a perfect adaptation that encapsulates the same dread.
Fucking die in this house!
So, how do we adapt this movie and game into DVD? Most people I've seen only seek to adapt Simon as a survivor, which makes the most sense. But I'd say that the eel has too cool of a design for me not to try and adapt it into Dead by Daylight. Introducing the new killer, the Leviathan, a 4.4 meters per second killer with a 24 meter terror radius. This manifestation of bodies exists to serve the will of the Blood Ocean's hive mind, but now the Leviathan only exists to serve the entity. Its power is from the deep. The Leviathan is a servant of the Blood Ocean, part of a hive mind of those lost during the Quiet Rapture, seeking to grow its numbers exponentially. Unique map effect, Blood Ocean. From the beginning of the trial, the entire map will be submerged in the Blood Ocean. Survivors will have a red hue over their view and are only able to see roughly 6 meters in front of them, and reduces the size of aura reading perks by 10 meters. Unique item, X-ray camera. Survivors are able to find X-ray cameras around the map. Their aura is highlighted to any survivors within 10 meters of a camera. When a survivor picks up a camera, it will spawn with 6 charges. For the cost of 1 charge, survivors will be able to see a full range of view around them in black and white for 10 seconds. This will allow survivors to see the Leviathan as well as the other survivors by seeing their skeletons. Special ability, Sanguine Tide. Due to the Leviathan's nature, it is unable to interact with survivors in the typical sense. Instead, the Blood Ocean will perform all actions including breaking pallets, generators, walls, and hooking survivors. Sanguine Tides can be activated in a 15-meter radius around the Leviathan, performing any of these actions: breaking pallets, breakable walls and generators, and dragging any survivors who are downed to the nearest hook. If a survivor is caught in the radius of Sanguine Tides, they'll be swept away by the tides, dragging them anti-clockwise in relation to their location to the Leviathan. If the survivor hits an object while being swept away, they will receive the Raptured status effect and lose a health state. Special effect, Raptured. Survivors will become raptured if they are injured while being swept by the Sanguine Tides. Raptured survivors will slowly become degraded by the Blood Ocean and are now susceptible to the Whisper ability. Raptured survivors who observe the Leviathan will slowly increase their Raptured level. Special ability, Whisper/Roar. When the Leviathan is within 10 meters of a raptured survivor, they gain the ability to whisper to the survivor. The whisper ability causes survivors to rapidly become more raptured. It also forces the survivors to face the direction of the Leviathan, whether visible or not. The roar ability is the version of whisper unlocked when all survivors have been raptured. The roar ability allows the Leviathan to roar loudly. This causes all survivors to increase their rapture progression by 15% and all survivors to scream and stop whatever they are doing. Special event, Aquatic Pursuit. When a survivor is fully raptured, their location is revealed to the Leviathan, and they will hear a constant terror radius in their ears. The Leviathan gains the undetectable status. Aquatic Pursuit lasts for 40 seconds and unlocks the Wavemaker and interaction Quiet Rapture. Special ability, Wavemaker. Taking the place of Whisper/Roar, when the Leviathan activates this ability, its body will coil up before shooting forward, reaching about 15 meters in length. Around the area of the Leviathan during Wavemaker, rippling waves will form that knock survivors away from the Leviathan, then bring it back in, slamming them against objects and possibly causing them to become raptured, if not already. If the raptured survivor is in front of the Leviathan when it performs Wavemaker, it will perform the Quiet Rapture interaction. A special interaction will occur where the survivor is torn apart by the ocean and consumed by the Leviathan's body, killing the survivor and increasing the range of the following abilities by 2 meters: Sanguine Tines, Whisper, and Roar. Now, I don't have any add-ons this time around, but I still come bearing perks, starting with Hex Beyond the Veil. After a survivor reveals your aura, they will scream and become oblivious for 20 seconds. Once the oblivious ends, they will scream again, and the time they are oblivious increases by 3, 4, 5 seconds for each time they scream, up to a maximum of 45 seconds. Pressure Hemorrhage. When an injured survivor works on a generator for longer than 55, 50, or 45 seconds without interruptions, the generator will suddenly rupture and detonate, causing the generator to regress by 25%. The timer is indicated by a rising, subtle pressure noise. Scourge Hook, Follow the Light. When a survivor is hooked on a Scourge Hook, all generators with progress or generators that have been completed will explode with a bright flash of light. This flash will blind and deafen any survivors caught in its radius. The aura of any targeted survivors are revealed for 15, 20, and 25 seconds. Now, onto the first survivor of 2026, Simon, the Butcher of Filament Station. Simon was taken by the entity in his final moments of life. The need for survival he thought he had lost had been reawakened by something even greater than the horrors he saw in the alien seas of Moon 85. Simon's first perk is Brother of Eden. This perk decreases the chance of being the Obsession. This perk is unlocked after healing the Obsession and can be activated at any point. Upon doing so, for the next 2 seconds, any damage the Obsession might receive is instead transferred to you. After using this perk, it is deactivated and you become exhausted for 60, 50, and 40 seconds. Fatal Exposure. This perk can be activated when you are injured. Upon activating this perk, a loud camera noise will play and the survivor will scream, causing them to become deep wounded. For the next 30, 35, and 40 seconds, the killer is blinded to all auras except yours, which can still be found by other means. Fatal Exposure has a 90-second cooldown once the duration of blindness is over. Convict Realization. After you escape a chase, gain a token, you can stack tokens up to 8, 9, or 10. When opening an exit gate, consume your tokens to take time off the exit gate opening time, with 1 token equaling to 1 second. Now, thank you all for watching. This is by far my most ambitious killer on the channel, but I have plenty more to come. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified about the upcoming videos, such as the remake of The Witness coming on April 1st. Till then, thanks for visiting. That's all on the menu for today, and I'll see you in the fog.